Welcome back to Food Allergy Friends. Today I'm talking to Julie and Tom from the Amy May Trust. Amy May is severely allergic to nuts. When she was on holiday, a meal she ate contained nuts, resulting in a severe allergic reaction. Amy suffered brain damage and now needs constant care. Life for Amy and her family will never be the same again.
I'm Amy's aunt, and Tom is Amy's cousin, and we're mum and son. So Amy is the daughter of my sister. So and a very close family.
Very close family.
Very, very close family. I mean, Tom and my other son Jack, they're brought up like siblings, really. So it was very obviously affected and still affects all of us as a family hugely, massively.
Yeah, when Amy's incident first happened, obviously she was in Budapest. Her mum, dad, and Roger, we were in England, and we were in Spain at the time on our Easter holidays. And obviously mum was the first person Sue rung. So just to sort of show how close, that's the first person she would ring, and probably the only person she would ring. That's really fair to say,
definitely.
Isn't it? In such a awful situation when you're hours away from what's happened.
So we all felt a very long way away from one another at the time, in separate countries, but yeah, it was
bless you.
Horrendous week. Well, horrendous years, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a few years ago now, isn't it? Is it 7 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 2014, years. Just gone 7 years. In April. April. April 14th.
Oh, bless you.
Amy is the rarity because she has survived it. She survived this catastrophic reaction, which sent to a cardiac arrest, and she did pass away on the streets of Budapest. But they saved her, and that doesn't often happen.
No.
Normally, if someone has a reaction as bad as Amy had it, then they do generally pass away. But yeah, Amy didn't, and of course we're living and seeing and helping that case
all the time
because of it now.
It's a constant, her story is a huge warning to people.
It's a warning, and it's truth. It's when people hear of a tragic death, you can perhaps understand it a little bit more, I think, because we can all understand what death is, and it's tragic, it's coarse, it's awful, and then you get Amy's case, and it's a visual reminder. I think that's probably the most powerful thing.
Yeah, it's very graphic, isn't it? When you see Amy, it's very graphic, the effects that an allergy's had on her.
How someone's life can change literally within minutes through one mouthful of food. Goes to highlight how serious allergies really are, because our slogan is nut allergies are serious, and it gets the heart of what our message is. Nut allergies are serious. It's not a joke. It's not, you can't be in the playground and pretend it's something that you can laugh at or you can play tricks with. You are playing with life and death, whether you're the friend of someone with an allergy or you have the allergy yourself.
I mean, we have to we often quantify it. We're very conscious. We know all allergies are serious. Of course we do. We're highly respectful of that. But, the trust started because of Amy's story, which was to do with nuts. So that's why we've sort of taken on this mantle of the nut people, really, haven't we?
Yeah, and
there's lots of allergy charities. So we've sort of...
We're the niche.
Yeah, we're niche.
We're a niche part of it. And, if someone wants to come and do another allergy and really concentrate on that, then we only support everyone supports everyone.
Of course.
You've got the charities that support all allergies, and we have a subset of that, and doing our part for this one food.
Just
group.
Awareness for that, but at the same time, respecting that they're all equally as dangerous as one another, without doubt.
That's the thing, isn't it? And so, did Amy have allergies right from early on?
Yes, all her life. It was discovered when she was around, I think she was about 18 months old, and she'd had a little tiny taste of a cake, and it had almond essence in it.
Almond essence, so very small amount.
Tiny, literally. She was tiny, she was a tiny child, it was a tiny mouthful. But it happened immediately. She was actually at her grandparents at the time, and they rushed her down to the GP, who fortunately was really on the ball and rushed them off to hospital. So, you know, which was a blessing, because again, not even particularly then, you know, 20 odd years ago, well, 30 years ago now,
yeah,
people
late 80s, wasn't it?
yeah,
So,
exactly, weren't always as sort of on it as that. But yeah, so all her life. But she was hugely vigilant, wasn't she?
Oh,
She
yeah.
never ever, you know, she was brought up to understand an allergy and to know that she had to take notice of it, ask and check and double check and all the rest of it. So she was always really careful and dealt incredibly well with
any
it.
suspicion she had when we were in a restaurant.
I was
6 years younger than Amy, you know, extremely close, but 6 years younger. And as I was growing up, I learned to see her face when she questioned something. So you might be in a restaurant and she looked at something which, you know, may have been reassured that there's nothing in there. You can be in the best restaurant in the world, but you still have to, it's your responsibility. So, and Amy did, she checked, and it was that sort of face she gave her mum, just sort of thinking, can we ask someone about this? And it's that lack of fear, you know, you must ask, you can't be embarrassed and take the risk. You know, you ask and then you check, and if so, you know, the chef can come out, and you know, you get some amazing restaurants where the chef actually comes out and talks to you, and that offers such reassurance. Otherwise, you're not just relying on a waiter to convey a message to, you know, a sous chef, who then to a chef, and up the chain. You know, if the person cooking your food actually comes out, but of course that's not always possible. And I think that'd be an incredible change if more chefs did do it, or more restaurants really did put in place some mechanism where the message was just so clearly translated from the customer to the kitchen. Because of course that's how Amy's case happened. I know she was in Budapest and there's a language barrier, but she had all the allergy cards which were printed in Hungarian.
And she'd had assurances, hadn't she, from all the staff and the waiters, several waiters.
And of course it's that message which didn't get through to the kitchen.
Yeah, somewhere along the line the chain was broken, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that's a lot of faith to put your life in a chain of command between a waiter and a chef.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is an exercise I do actually on my training courses that I deliver. Is I try and get, as long as I've got enough people on the course, for one person to be the customer and then to work it through the chain. It's not easy to do at the moment because all the training's on Zoom. Yeah. But in the classroom, you can actually follow through the process and follow it back, and it's like Chinese whispers.
It is.
It's a
great example. It's exactly what it is. It's exactly Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
I suppose you can see how the message is changing.
Yes.
Or their interpretation of it. You know, and people do make their own interpretation, don't they?
And that's very much part of, you know, so the trust has 3 pillars of work. One of them is education, and that is so important to what we do, is to educate, to tell people that an allergy is this, an intolerance is this, very different, you know, serious, but an allergy has to be taken with much more seriousness. And you can't interpret it as an intolerance, but it's actually an allergy. You just can't do that because you are playing with life and death. And yeah, as you say, if we can get that message across and that education down to a fine art and everyone understands it to the extent to which they should, then that message will just get passed through the chain, and hopefully there won't be any
links broken.
Yeah, or any different interpretations.
Yeah.
It's so important. That's a really good lesson that you teach in your courses. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, because I've seen it happen. We were in a restaurant one day with some friends, and 2 of them are celiac.
Right.
And one of the young ladies is very, very sensitive. She can't even have the Codex wheat, which is less than 20 parts per million. She's that sensitive. So, but she ordered the steak and she told them that she was gluten-free. She needed, you know, don't put the onion rings on it. I can't have them. Her meal came out still with onion rings on it. Sent it back to the kitchen. And all they did was take them off and send the same plate back. There were still crumbs from the onion rings on the steak.
And now that lack of comprehension is just so frustrating, isn't it?
It's horrendous.
it's actually something that COVID has, I think, highlighted, actually, which we've spoken about this over the last, how long has it been? 18 months? Just over a year. The government have taught people that a virus can move from place to place, wherever you touch it. Okay, that's an easy concept for everyone to understand, but you have to apply that to allergies. You know, if you've been touching nuts and you go and touch a door handle, and then you don't wash your hands, and then someone with an allergy comes and touches that door handle, then they go and they blow their nose or something. Yeah. Yes, it depends on the severity, it depends on how sensitive they are, but there's a likelihood they might have a very mild reaction from that secondary or tertiary contact. And I think that's something that COVID has taught us, and we can really leverage in educating people that you have to just be very aware that you don't know who has an allergy around you. Where a lanyard to say I've got an allergy or something, it's invisible.
Yeah.
Assume
that is the problem, though, isn't it? Because people can't see it, they tend not to accept it and not believe it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and the severity of it, I think.
And the severity, definitely, yes.
I think that's the biggest thing. Even now, I think that's the most important issue that comes up time and time again, isn't it? They, you know, no, you can't have a little bit of peanut butter.
No.
Like that.
The things people say, a little bit won't hurt you. Actually, that little bit could kill me.
Well, yeah, exactly. It could literally do that. Yeah, it's a very worrying message. You know, you've also come across this before.
Oh, definitely.
Young people. I was talking to a little boy only a couple of weeks ago, who is so eloquent and so grounded in what he knows about his allergies, and he's young. You know, I don't know how old he is, but he's very young. And if adults need to be able to understand to the same extent he does, without being scared by it. You know, Amy's case can certainly scare people.
Yeah, we're very aware of that, actually, because I think, you know, going full circle, what we said earlier, it's a very graphic case. You know, her pictures are very graphic of what's happened to her, and the limitations of her life are enormous, and absolutely enormous. And whilst you want people to understand that, you also don't want, particularly for young children, I think, you don't want to make them feel so scared of life itself, because that's quite sad in itself, isn't it, really? It's a real balance. So education is important, and the way you tackle it, I think.
Yes.